Dan, how did you feel about your comment section in your blog being hijacked by Christmas Ape's supporters?
That was another weird thing, because when Christmas Ape got fired from the Post, I was on vacation actually, because I was in Chicago covering this like ridiculous Olympic summit that had nothing to do with blogs at all, and I was writing about, you know, the synchronized swimmer. Like it was ridiculous that I was there, and I heard that the thing happened, and I kind of wanted to write something about it, and I was actually that time I was kind of discouraged from writing anything about it initially because it got into like HR and all this stuff, and for whatever reason I don't even remember how that happened. That they started putting the comments about his firing on this item that I had about like synchronized swimmers, and it was just bizarre. But I mean,
I think people expected you to be like, yeah, bro. Like I know that was like the worst example of when it got actually like this stupid us versus them thing.
Yeah. I still don't totally know. I mean, maybe Drew knows. He's drunk, so maybe he'll tell us. But I don't totally know what the exact justification they gave for firing him. If it was for posting like drunk pictures of himself, I wouldn't agree with that. But
That's it.
Is that what it actually was for?
That and
they said the site was racist and homophobic and sexist. So
Well, you know what?
I'm not really gonna defend it.
1/6 of that is true, for the record.
But I didn't. I mean, sorry. I didn't care that they did it, and I mean, it gave me a little traffic boost. So that's kind of cool. But I mean, I think that was fine. I think that a lot of people I think it would have been better if the Post had come out and explained a little bit more exactly why they had done this. And I think that a lot of people in the blogosphere thought, look, if you've got this kind of well-respected blogger working at your paper, why don't you take advantage of that, put him in the sports section, and kind of reap the rewards a little bit? And I think the answer that the Post gave was, we had no idea that he worked here. And so I think that if he had, honestly, I think that there was.
He was not like a column.
Yeah, I mean, he worked for the Southern Maryland Bureau, I think. Anyhow, I think that if, I mean, I like Mike. I think if he had handled it a little bit differently, there's a way that maybe he could have parlayed it into like a sports blogging gig of some sort with the Post, instead of just kind of like flaming the newspaper like that. And, but whatever.
For the record, I actually agree with you on that. I mean, no offense to Mike, but I actually think he's right. Okay, next question.
It's all on tape.
Yes, you
This is Drew.
Well, who are you, young stranger?
Are you surprised how popular Cascade has gotten?
That's a tough question. That's a tough question. I'm glad you asked it, Jeremy. Yes, I'm very surprised. I'm shocked.
Give me insight.
I shit my pants when I found out how popular it was. No, I did not know it would get mildly kind of popular where a few people would visit it every day. I was very, very, very surprised. And I'm very delighted. Can we just start drinking again?
All right, 3 more questions, and all of them, go ahead, yes, sir.
Dan mentioned something earlier about the oversaturation of sports coverage, and I was just curious to hear a little bit more about that. Do you think that's representative of media in general, that blogs have merged because of this oversaturation, or is there something specific about the coverage of sports that's led to this?
That might be a little.
Wow, I'm like giving Mike a hand.
I'm not sure. I mean, it just seems to me like in terms of like the importance to the world of like a Redskins football game, the number of people who you see there covering is kind of, you know, literally I think we had 13 employees at the last Redskins game, and you know, there's no way that like a DC council meeting, you know, DC council members could be stabbing each other on the podium. We wouldn't have that many people there. So it just seems like in that kind of environment, especially when a lot of them are kind of doing very, very similar stuff, if there's blogs that can kind of break through and do something different the way KSK does, I think that there was still kind of an opening for doing that. For me, like I'm trying to compete against when people can read about the Redskins on a gazillion different sites, including like ESPN.com and Yahoo.com and all these places where they go every day. I feel like I need to do something different. And now that I see like our traffic numbers and I talk to people who work for Yahoo Sports and know what they get kind of traffic-wise, it just makes you want to like jump off a bridge. And we can't. I mean, there's no way that we can compete on national sports stories as a newspaper. There's just no way on the web. We just get. I mean, Drew would give you a very elaborate sexual description of what's happening to us right now. But so like we sort of have to.
And I would talk about how it's like a corn silo.
So I mean, I think that for us, we just have to find every angle concerning local sports teams that we can exploit, including how they vomit.
Nice. Yes, sir.
This is for you and Dan, and you can chime in if you'd like as well.
Fuck you.
Dan, you're mentioning things like traffic and ad rates, especially with the blog universe as it is, where everyone cross posts friends of theirs and things they notice. Do you find yourself writing more to traffic and less towards your interest, or do you still find that your voice is coming out as you want it to?
This actually leads to the question I wanted to ask you actually as well. You actually said at one point that like there were times that you felt that like I and Matt over at With Leather were almost like your editors, because if we linked to you, it got more traffic as opposed to actually doing like a really good piece. So I'm curious about that as well.
Yeah, when I first started doing the blog and when I was like covering stuff like polo, I didn't even see my traffic, and I would ask every day and was told they couldn't tell me. Like, that's like a classic newspaper website, you know. We don't know. But so now they actually like email me my traffic every morning, which is like the part of the morning when I start drinking. But I mean, I did tell Will that I used to feel like if I was at Wizards practice, I wasn't trying to find something that was the best for the Washington Post. I was trying to find something that would be best for Deadspin or With Leather or whatever, because that's kind of the base that I was trying to get. Now I think I've gotten like my audience in DC, and the problem is my audience in DC is like white guys who are like in their 20s and 30s and care about DC sports teams. And I think a lot of it is because of the nature of DC as like a sports town. There's just not that many of those people, unfortunately, because like people in DC don't give a shit, you know. And so my audience is still not huge, but like I have the audience that I have now, and it kind of, mostly it's because I write about the Redskins every day, and that's all the people care about. But so I write more now for an audience, just thinking about what my audience is wanting, and less thinking about what AJ is wanting now. But I mean, still, if I see something that strikes me as a big linker,
I know, I told you it wasn't.
a lot of times I will write about things if I think that Deadspin will link to them, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I'm a total whore for traffic now, and that's all I care about.
Well, I think this actually leads to an interesting point, and we'll get to you in a moment. But the notion of the like, you know, I mean, you have to run into this every day of the idea of the like, what's a good story and what's going to give me a lot of traffic. And I see this in New York. Like last week, you know, I wrote a weekly column about sports for the New York Magazine website, and I was like, last week I didn't really have anything to write about. I was like, you know what? Let's just get you a lot of traffic. Top 10 sportscaster bloopers. And I knew it'd be really easy, and the guy was like, Will, good job. You got a lot of traffic. And I was like, yes, but I hate myself. And I, you know, I'm sure you like. Do you hit that on a regular basis?
I've got more points. Not that anyone cares about my traffic. Not that anyone cares about my traffic, but by far the biggest thing that I ever did, and I think at the point that I did it, it was the biggest blog item of the year for the Washington Post. And the Washington Post, maybe you've heard of it, it's got like this politics thing that they cover a lot. And they've got like 5,000 blogs about politics. And I think at the point that I did it, this kid was friends with like some plumber or something who was working on Gilbert Arenas' house.
Joe?
And he went, nah, Joe. And so he got in with the work crew and he took pictures of Gilbert's pool and sent me the pictures. And I posted them, and they got sent to like Yahoo's NBA blog, and Skeets posted them over there. And it was on Yahoo. It was on the front page of Yahoo.com for a long time. And I got like literally 5 times more traffic that day than I ever had before. And I think it was the biggest blog item of the Post